All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He is Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director. He's also the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the not supposed to be good, but good this year, Boston Celtics, from a lifelong fan, Steve. The pod will drop new episodes every Monday. But this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of random NBA thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content of Steve's Searching Rules random NBA thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today we'll discuss his latest Searching Rules random NBA thoughts article, where he shares his thoughts, his random thoughts, after week 11 of the 2025-26 NBA season. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. This is the dog days. I haven't started the clock yet, but it's dog days of the NBA. We're not at the All-Star game. The NBA Cup is over, which I know you're a big fan of.
Yeah,
the trade rumors are bubbling, but there's no trades yet. So did you find it? I'm going to ask you this again. Clock's not ticking. Did you find it hard to find something to talk about this time?
No, a lot of interesting things going on. I didn't even get into. I wanted to, but I didn't. Anthony Edwards walking off the bench during a game. I wanted to get into that, but I didn't. And if we have time at the end, throw it out there because I have a thought on that. So there were different things I saw that I picked my interest.
Okay, outstanding. And that's how you know you got a real fan on your hands. Let's start the clock now. And we always have time at the end, so I'm sure we'll be able to get to Ant. That's a joke. Let's start the clock. Boom. All right. We start with a first-round pick. This is a player who's now a 5-year veteran, just signed a $48 million contract. This is, by all indications, this is a guy who should be getting 20, 30 minutes, but he can't find his place in San Francisco. What is wrong with Kuminga and Kerr in San Francisco?
I get a feel, and this is crazy, but I get a feel that Kerr almost feels that he didn't get the credit for all the great things the Warriors did. This is a guy who will be a Hall of Famer. This is a guy who was a great clutch player, not a great player, but a great clutch player in his day. Yeah. If you remember Jordan kicking him the ball and him hitting the three.
Sure.
So he's really good. And he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach. Not many guys win a bunch of titles. You're putting him up there with Jackson, Pat Riley, and these people. Yeah. Not quite up there with Red Auerbach. He's getting it. But the point being, this is the guy who benches Jason Tatum in the Olympics. You can have your reason. Okay, he didn't do this or that. But you know what? This is Tatum was consistently a top 5 guy in the MVP voting when he was healthy. My thought is, okay, if you don't feel he's helping, you find him 5-10 minutes in a game. Don't let him sit there and embarrass him. He's done too much to do that. Now you get to today, and you're watching this with Kuminga. What exactly is the reason that you would sit him, DNP him, coach's decision, 11 out of 12 games? And then you get to the other night, they're playing Oklahoma. Curry's out, Butler's out, Green is out. Kerr says today Kuminga's going to play. Before a game, Kuminga said, my back is hurting, and I don't know if I can go tonight. And naturally, he doesn't play. Now, you can look at it in a lot of ways. Maybe his back really hurt. I want to believe that. But even if it didn't, it's something that Kerr deserves. Because what's the matter? Everybody's gone, and now you run to this guy because he can score and he can play. No, you should have been finding him time throughout. You signed him for the money, $45 million for 2. It just makes no sense. Are you trying to show everybody that, like you did with Tatum, that you don't need these guys and you can still win because you're the little genius? That's great. But it just doesn't add up. And then if you're management, you got to look at him and say, wait a minute, we're paying this guy a lot of money. You got to use him. You can't do it unless he's bulletproof. And that's the sad part about it. So anyway, that's my 10-minute talk on the whole thing.
And it's not just Kuminga, right? We would be leaving out a little bit of context. He's having some trouble with Draymond too, isn't he?
Draymond and him have always gone at it, but I think he walked off one night. It, first of all, and Draymond got thrown out the other night for two T's. Let's be honest. Draymond's a good player. He's real good. He defends bigger people, smaller people, anybody, and he does a great job. Offensively, he's like the catalyst that makes everything go. Can't score, but he can do everything else. He's out of control. Well, that's the only way to put it. He's got something to say every time a referee blows a whistle. And I think a lot of people have had enough of that act. I think Kerr might have had enough that night, and he decided to go at it with him. And after Kerr made the statement that it was my fault, and yeah, okay, it was your fault. But you're not dealing with a guy as great a player as Draymond, and he'll be a Hall of Famer. As great as he is, I don't know how stable he is. And so you're dealing with somebody that's really all over the place.
Yeah. We talk a lot about how tough the GM job is in the NBA, but yeah, coaching in the NBA is got to be just below that. You're dealing with egos, you're dealing with contracts, you're dealing with having to piece everything together. Sometimes the team that you didn't want it to be together, but this is the team you got. And yeah, when you start having, and we're not saying this is what's happening with Steve Kerr, but maybe a little ego starts to seep in. You make a hard job a little bit harder. But let's see how things play out.
One piece, Eric Spoelstra is coached the longest of anybody in the NBA. You don't see any of the drama around what goes on in Miami. He just coaches, they play, and everything works nice.
Yeah.
And there's never, some people that are coaches, their time is up, meaning the messages are working and nothing's going. I think Spoelstra's biggest asset is Pat Riley is behind him on anything.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder about Kerr. I know his contract's up at the end of the year, and Curry has said, I want to play only for him and all that nice stuff. But I'm starting to wonder, is his time up?
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We've already lost the great Pop in San Antonio. It'd be weird for the NBA to be without him and Kerr. Does Kerr end up somewhere else? Let's see again how things play out. Let's stay in the West. We'll talk about arguably, maybe there's not a whole lot of argument, the best player in the NBA. That's Nikola Jokic. Thankfully, his injury looks to be minor. He's walking around on his knee, so that's good news. But oddly enough, these few weeks off might cost him the MVP trophy. Is that fair? You wrote about it. What do you think?
You tell me. If you have a guy missing more than a 50 of games, because it's 65 games, and that means you miss 18 to get under it, does that guy affect winning? Missing 22% of your games? So I think you need to play every night, not every night, but 75 games to really be a factor. You're missing a lot of games. And I'm not just talking about Jokic. I'm talking about anybody who does that. It's his game. He's great to watch. He's fun. You sit there and say, if he can do that, I think I can go out and do that. Because it's slow motion and he just does things. And he sees people and he's just an incredible basketball player. One of the all-time greats. But the issue isn't him being hurt as much as the question, like, now he can't win the MVP. If you miss that many games, the MVP is based on the regular season. So if you miss that many games, how can you be considered an MVP candidate?
Okay, so you're good with it.
Yeah, it's fine. And it gets rid of the guys who look at it and say, if I take off, I might have too many games. And so it makes them play, the guys that are healthy.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this. And I've had a lot of thoughts over the years. But I think one of the things to, as we go through this topic is, what does MVP actually mean? Because it means different things to different people. You said impact and winning. Is that the MVP? The guy who's going to impact winning? Is it the guy who makes your teammates better? Is it the guy that you want to take the last shot, right? What is it exactly? And it's so subjective because it's different things to different people that it's hard to pinpoint, probably impossible to pinpoint. Yeah, I guess I agree with you. I just have a little bit of hesitation because when you start drawing the line in the sand and say it's this, it's good because the MVP award needs that. We need a line in the sand. But the best player in the NBA is Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Maybe SGA, is in the conversation, but for him not to win it because he got hurt, it has a hint of unfairness to it to me.
Well, it is unfair, but you know what? You got to be on the court to win an award.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I do think that that's a good conversation, maybe to have a point counterpoint at some point.
No,
Maybe
it's
we
great.
save that for the off season. Let's move on and we'll talk about. Oh, now we go to the West. Pardon me. Go to the East now. Fourth season player, followed by Kerr, has taken a pretty significant dip in scoring. And this is at a time when you expect to see continued rise. He got better his second season, got better his third season, now his fourth, kind of fallen off the cliff, both in scoring and three-point shooting. What's wrong? This is a good Orlando team. What's going on?
Before the season, I thought they would be the sleeper in the conference. And naturally, the first thing you do is look at the team and say, okay, Wagner's been out for a while now, and Banchero's been out. And of course, their best guy is Jalen Suggs. Not best guy, but he impacts winning. And he's going to be chronically injured for the rest of his career. So now you start wondering, do you rely on a guy like that, as good as he is? So you think about that. But then I just started looking at it. And you look at Banchero's numbers. He's averaging 20 points a game. I believe his best year was over 25. And everybody thought this guy was going to skyrocket, just going to become an MVP type player. And instead, he's gone back. And what really knocked me over was when I look at it, and he was never a great three-point shooter, but he's shooting 24.4% from three. Now, generally in the NBA, if you're under 33%, you're told not, basically, you shouldn't be shooting. You're hurting your team. This is 24%. That to me illustrates as much as Orlando's been hurt, Banchero is a reason why they aren't having a lot of success. And I hate to point to him, but you know what? You make the big money, you got big responsibility. And that's his case. Yeah. So that to me was another problem for Orlando.
Yeah, and it's weird because they went all in this year and we thought they would be really good. And you start to wonder, maybe the pressure of being on a really good team, it's easier to play basketball maybe when there's no expectations on you and the team. Maybe that's a part of it. 25.9 last season, 20.7 this season. Steve, you called it out. 24.4 from three this season. I just lost my screen. But it was something like 32% last season.
Right.
So again, just a dip.
Yeah. And Orlando's never been a good shooting team from three in the last couple of years. They had Cornwell Pope last year. They thought he would cure it, and he was terrible. And this year they got Bain, who's a pretty good shooter, and a good player, real good player, but still not enough.
Not enough. Let's see if things get right in Orlando. Let's stay in the East. Talk about the Knicks. The Knicks are a good team, one of the best in the East, undeniable, but they've got some defensive problems that you've noticed. Can adding pieces address those defensive problems, or will getting Josh Hart back and Mitchell Robinson integrated be enough for them?
I think Josh Hart is such a key to that team. Like Jalen Suggs is. Jalen Suggs is a better shooter and a better player than Josh Hart, but they both have the same impact on their teams. And Josh Hart makes things go. Offensively, defensively, he just does things. He can go the length of the floor and shoot layups and off his own rebound. He's 6'4", he gets a bunch of rebounds. He's near a triple-double if he gets the minutes every night. He's such a good player, and that's hurt them. And I think his pushing, his leadership, I'll say, although Brunson is the leader, his leadership on the court is important. They don't have it. That's a big loss. But they've been giving up over 120 points. Last night, 130 to Philly. And they've lost 3 straight. So you start to wonder about this. And I think they're up to 12 losses already. So you begin to wonder about it. And then I did, just common sense told me, I believe most NBA champions' defensive ratings usually in the top 7. And then I looked at the Knicks and they were 16th. And the thought to myself was, now, wait a minute, let me think about this. Talent-wise, when healthy, they have the most talent in the Eastern Conference. What is happening here? What is wrong? And then you start really digging deeper. You lost Hart, and you're using Kolek and McBride. McBride's a real good shooter, but he's 6'2". And teams are going at him. Kolek, he's Kolek. He's a nice player. He hustles. He's good. But that's your 5th guy. And that's not Josh Hart. And now don't forget, I've said this a bunch of times, 2 bad defenders, you got a problem on defense. Now you got
Yeah.
3. What are you gonna defend? Because teams can go at Towns, Brunson, although Brunson works hard. He's not a good defender, but he works hard. He'll take a charge, and he's got a lot of courage. But not and McBride or Kolick, that's not a good situation. Or Yabusele or whoever else your 5th guy is. That's not, and they've been using Mitchell Robinson as the 5th guy, which I guess might be the best of that mess defensively. But you're going to give up points, and now you're getting into shootouts, and it's just something you don't want to do. So the Knicks have to do something. And I'm just going to throw something out there that's crazy. They're in trouble right now. They're not doing what they're not trouble. That's wrong. They're not doing what they should because I think management thought they would just roll over everybody. Don't sell the thought that a Giannis or somebody else might be in a deal before the deadline because the Knicks feel that they are not the number 1 team, although their talent indicates they are.
Interesting. Yeah, this is that time of year when we start throwing out things like that. Does Giannis in New York change things? The only way you flip him is for Cat, right? That's the only way you do it. Does it make the Knicks better?
Does it make the Knicks better? I think it does on the defensive end, and I think Giannis can do a lot of things, and I think he might even complement Mitchell Robinson real well if they're together. So does it? I think it's a better situation.
Okay.
I think he and Brunson in pick and roll would be just about unstoppable.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch.
I think off the top that it would make them better. The key here is Giannis going to stay healthy.
Outstanding. Always a fun time of year to talk about these what ifs. Let's see how it plays out. But the clock is ticking. We got to keep going. Let's talk about Josh Giddy. You just mentioned Josh Hart is a triple-double when he plays. Josh Giddy's almost averaging a triple-double, which is pretty amazing. Assists and rebounds at 9 each. Does losing him cost the Bulls their season, though? He's only out for a couple weeks, but is he that good?
I think they're going to be right in the play-in fight. But he was mentioned as an all-star. And if he didn't get hurt, he would have been. That hurts them, and they're at a crossroads finally because they've stayed in this dreaded situation every year, 9th, 10th, and so on. But they've got a bunch of guys that their contracts are up, including Vucevic and Kobe White, and those are good players. So you might see some deals before the deadline, and the Bulls decide just to take it and tank, or stay with these guys till their contract's up and then move on. And a lot of teams would love to have Kobe White, and some teams would take Vucevic because he can shoot, and he's more of a hybrid 5 where he can more or less hurt you from the outside and shoot the ball, defend. So there's a market for those. Ayu Dosunmu, who doesn't make a great deal of money, is a good player. He's another one that there might be a market. And Zach Collins, who does make some decent money, who's not a bad player, these are all guys their contracts up. So now I think the idea for Chicago would be to build around Giddy. And right now with him out, and they also are trying to build around Buzelis, but they need more, a heck of a lot more.
Yeah. But 2 good pieces, certainly, to build around.
Yeah.
Career high for Giddy, 19.2 points, career high 9.9 assists. No, pardon me, 9 assists, career high 8.9 rebounds. And check this out, career high 38.6 from 3. That's an all-star.
If you give him time in one of these years and he's healthy and all the good stuff, he could average a triple-double for the season.
And it's funny because for years that was the mecca, right? And that was Oscar's territory. Nobody else had done it.
Right.
And now Russell Westbrook did it over 3 years, 1 season, but he averaged that over the course of 2.5 seasons or something. And now Josh Giddey's doing it, becoming more commonplace, which is crazy to see. Okay. Yeah, very good. Listen, I hope it's good things for Chicago. They've been in that mid-tier for long enough. It'd be nice to see them go up or down. I mean, you don't want to be in that middle tier for too long. Yeah. They've been there for a very long time. Let's talk about the Pistons. The Pistons continue to impress. They're a great team, fun to watch. I know that they muddy up the game a little bit, but I like watching them. I like watching the passion. And when you're in a game with them, you feel it. You played the Pistons. But they recently dropped 2 games. They hit a bit of a road bump on the road. They dropped 2 games to 2 of the lower standing Western Conference teams, and the Clippers and the Jazz. Is everything okay in Detroit?
They also got beat by Miami in Detroit the other night.
Right.
First of all, Jalen Duren's out for a week, and they play the Knicks, I think, Monday night. So that gets interesting also. Duren's second. He's the second gun, second player, really. And I think Harris is battling an injury too, and so is Karis LeVert. So they're getting beat up. What I'm going to ask you is, I've seen it happen in my years of watching the NBA. I saw Larry Bird come in with Boston, and Boston went from like a 20-win team to a 60-win team. And I can understand it because Larry Bird's one of the greatest. The Pistons won 14 games 2 years ago. Are we like overplaying that they're that good, or are things going to level off? My question to you. Or is it going to level off, and then maybe now the back to being a 50
They
win?
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting is there's no Larry Bird, right? They didn't draft somebody, they didn't bring anybody in. This is just, so you give credit to the coach, you give credit to just the evolution of a team, right? You keep a team together long enough, they're going to peak. They may not take that big jump, but they'll peak. Their peak might be great. It might be mid-tier. A lot of teams, the Lakers, for example, are not big at keeping their team. They'll get these great young players, then they'll get rid of them for a bigger name. Yeah, the Pistons have stayed. They stayed the course. This is their team, and then they made a big jump. So you're asking, is this kind of an aberration? Are they going to settle back to what they were in that 14-win season? I don't think so. I think this is a legitimately good team. I think they've got the right mix of Tobias Harris, a veteran, with and even Kate Cunningham now. He's not a rookie anymore, right? This is a good veteran team. They know what it's like to win. They haven't won anything together yet, which I think is the next step. No, man, I think they're a good team. I think every 82-game season is going to have a bump in the road, I think. Even Michael Jordan missed a dunk once in his career. I saw it. He was against the Clippers years and years ago. It happens. So I just think this is a bump in the road.
I'm not saying it's going to fall apart. What I'm saying is, the ascension of a team. Last year, they got beat in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is it crazy to expect this team to go to the finals? And if they get to the conference finals, would that be a great step up? That's my point I'm trying to make. You're expecting a lot real quick. And that's difficult. Look at teams who ascended and I'm not talking about teams that like Larry Bird coming along, but teams who built it and continued to improve each year. Do you go from losing the first round of the playoffs to the finals, to the NBA finals? I don't know if I've seen any of that thing happen, is my point.
I'm sure it's happened. I think of the Lakers losing to Houston, which I think was in the first round, off Ralph Sampson's tip. And Michael Cooper drops to his knees. Next year, they won it all. But that was a different team.
Don't forget, I believe that team for Houston won 42 games.
Yeah, they were not. That's true.
That's an aberration. That is my
100%. Agreed. And I think that's what it is. They're one-offs. And I think if you're the Pistons, if I'm their coach, I'm telling them this. Listen, we can win it all. We can win it all. Because you want to shoot for that. But you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, that's a win.
Sometimes when you watch a game or watch a team and they play and they lose or win, you don't believe it was that team that won. It was the other team that really lost the game. It doesn't always work one way. And a lot of times you see that and you begin to think about that. And that's a piece to it that you're always wondering about.
Yeah. We'll see. I think the Pistons are going to be okay. I think they're going to do some damage in the Eastern Conference. And I wouldn't at all be surprised to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, I think that's a successful season for them, even though it would be heartbreaking for them to get that close and not get it. You heard the shot clock buzzer go off, another shot clock violation, but we got one more topic. So we're going to rapid fire this one because I think it's an interesting one. You called out that with or without Wemby, the Spurs are solid. So they've got a really good supporting cast around this unicorn, this absolute beast, Victor Wembanyama. Are the Spurs now your number 2 in the West?
Sure. Yeah, I would guess so. Houston, they don't shoot real well, and their game is all Şengün going to the basket. They don't overutilize Durant. Maybe that's because of age, but he gets the ball, but it's not like he's their primary guy. So there's a lot there. I don't think they're quite there. Who else is in the West that's in that level? I don't know. I guess they would be the number 2 team, and I'm sure Oklahoma wants no part of them if they meet them in the playoffs. So that
Sure.
that makes it very interesting.
Yeah,
And
that's for sure.
that would be my 10-second take. But what's fascinating, as I wrote, was that without him, they're 10-4. Wow, impressive.
Yeah, no, it's staggering how good they are. And this is another team, right? We could say with in line with what we just got to talk about with the Pistons. This is a team that has not been good for a long time, but now they've got their Larry Bird in Victor Wembanyama, and all of a sudden they're ascending. Let's see. Let's see how
You
far
missed
they get.
a couple other things too. Last year they got Stephen Castle. They've got
Castle.
Harper.
Yeah,
They've
they got
got
Harper.
Fox. They got last year. Now a
Yeah.
couple are interesting. For the first time, they had Harper, Fox, and Castle on the court together. It's very interesting because they're all three of them good offensive players. So that's an interesting. Castle's a really good defender, but so that makes it interesting.
No, it's fun to see them play, and I'm excited to see how far they're going to go this season. But that's it. Our shot clock went off. We have violated the shot clock again. I don't like the way I worded that. We have now done, I think, 120 some odd shows, and I think we've only actually got the shot off before the clock once. So I think if we were a team, we would have been benched by now. But thankfully, we're not. So on we go. But that is it. Our time is up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We'll link it wherever you are watching or listening to the show today. And of course, please subscribe, comment, follow. All that stuff means the world, and we're grateful for all of it. Join us again next week after week number 12 when we discuss more random. We'll talk then. Thanks, Steve.
Take